Now I would like to invite Dr. Ozonnia to make his keynote address.
CEO Rwanda Governance Board, Dr. Ucheza Picard. I want to disappoint my sister Fatmata because I don't want to mutilate any Kinyarwanda words. So let me play safe. Honorable Judith Uyeze, Minister in the Office of the President, Afande General Mubarak, members of Parliament from both chambers that are present, permanent secretaries, heads and representatives of state institutions that are present here, representatives of various government institutions, political organizations from the faith community, academia, media, private sector, civil society, my dear friends and colleagues from the United Nations system, dear colleagues from the diplomatic and development communities. It's 1 minute to 12, so I don't know whether to say good morning or good afternoon. So you can take anyone that's convenient to you. Let me appreciate the excellent presentation that we've received at this launch of the 12th edition of the Rwanda Governance Scorecard, and to congratulate the government and RGB for sustaining this flagship national instrument, which continues to track the state of governance in a rigorous, transparent, and evidence-based manner. This scorecard remains one of Rwanda's most remarkable homegrown innovations, reflecting a deep commitment to accountability and continuous improvement. It provides policymakers, civil society, cooperation partners with a credible and consistent assessment of governance performance. So, joining all previous speakers in commending RGB and all the institutions, researchers, and students and citizens who have contributed data, analysis, and insights to make this 2025 edition possible. I'm equally honored to be here on behalf of the United Nations family in Rwanda and as a proud partner in this important national effort, and to acknowledge the technical leadership and coordination of UNDP under my dear sister, Dr. Fatmata, in supporting this initiative under RGB's stewardship. The Rwanda Governance Scorecard has become an astounding example of how data-driven governance and multi-stakeholder collaboration can strengthen accountability and inform transformative policies. This 2025 scorecard confirms that Rwanda continues to perform strongly in most governance areas, with 5 out of 8 pillars scoring above 80%. It also shows that Rwanda is aligning its governance monitoring framework to the National Strategy for Transformation, NST2, with a focus on transformation, inclusiveness, and resilience. However, when compared with the 2024 edition, there has been a moderate decline in overall governance performance, largely driven by challenges in human and social development, which is up most 65%, and these reflect issues in education quality, in ICT integration in schools, and social protection coverage. The economic competitiveness pillar, which is at almost 80%, also shows a decline, reflecting weak export performance, productivity, and private sector participation. Similarly, service delivery at 71.73%, particularly within the economic transformation cluster, which is at almost 64%, signals areas that require deeper reform and digital acceleration. The rule of law pillar, despite its strengths, continues to face case backlogs and limited automation, with only 11% of government services fully digitized, highlighting the need to fast-track e-governance and judicial digitalization as key enablers of efficiency. Despite these challenges, Rwanda's governance foundations remain exceptionally solid, with notable resilience in safety and security, rule of law, and anti-corruption and accountability, which is a testament to the government's unwavering commitment to good governance. And so I ask the question, why is Rwanda's foundation solid? In my view, It is solid because it is based on Rwanda's values and lived experience. Governance is about values. What do you believe in a society? How do you want to interact with others and hold yourselves accountable? How do you believe your society should be managed? So governance must remain autochthonous to a society. African societies have an opportunity with the polycrisis that we see in the world today. This is the moment for Africa to rethink the foundations of our governance arrangements. The erosion of the connections between donor funding, conditionality, and governance systems, in my view, creates a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity for African societies to rethink our governance frameworks. So what we see in the Rwanda Governance Scorecard, it's not just a technical process. It is a foundational process at reconceptualizing the socio-economic and structural foundations of a society. So I want to commend the government and RGB for developing a wholly autochthonous mechanism for addressing the performance of governance institutions. We know that there is not one correct method or model or system of governance. So what we accept as unanimous worldwide is not the method or the system, but the principles. And these principles are about participation, inclusion, voice, representation, consultation. Now, if we accept that there's therefore not one template around which you can construct the foundations and the underpinnings of your society, and Rwanda has constructed one based on your lived experience, your national systems, your traditions and processes, it means that what is happening in Rwanda is an experiment. It is an experiment in the socio-economic transformation of a society based on the people's lived experience as well as your aspirations. This scorecard is therefore direct evidence of how far this aspiration has come, the success and the opportunities for consolidation. So if we say that there's no global template for development, it means that every experiment has challenges at points of stumble, but also points of affirmation and resurgence. So when I listen to some of the issues that are raised by colleagues, I think they are legitimate, because this platform is the only space where we then have to identify those potential points of stumble, and then to reaffirm new ways of dealing with them and for going forward, so that this experiment can only but be forward-facing and to succeed. And therefore, this is something that many of us should learn and borrow from. And I'm very happy that we have a dear friend from the APRM, the director from the Africa Peer Review Mechanism. So I recognize you. And the historicity of the scorecard building on the APRM process. And for those who've been associated with the APRM process, I was in the 90s and 2000s, that is a study of your own national society, of your own systems, with recommendations for how you address them. And those recommendations don't say to you, this is where you go to find the answers. Those recommendations propose an iterative process of national dialogue and consultation to come up with an inclusive approach that everyone would accept. And so, clearly for this launch, it is an opportunity for all of us to reflect on the correlation between service delivery, economic governance, and human capital development. Now I'm getting back to the technical issues. Areas that are vital for sustaining the next phase of Rwanda's transformation. There are a few issues that have emerged that I want to reemphasize. But I want to reemphasize them because they have also come up in NST too, as key areas, but particularly as flagships, that Rwanda hopes that its own development trajectory, its relationships with the partners cannot be based on the multiplicity, a multitude of interventions, but on some clearly thought out, deliberately choosing specific agenda items that will create cascade effect, create scale and impact. One, of course, is in relation to investments in education, quality, digital learning, and health. So the role of government institutions become relevant here, and the opportunity to accelerate the national e-government rollout to at least achieve 50% digitalization of public services, hopefully by 2027, in 2 years' time. In terms of the rule of law process and justice delivery, the automation and e-litigation tools help strengthen accountability and also reduce delays in case processing. And the introduction of ADR mechanisms have demonstrated that case backlogs can be reduced if we all put more efforts in mediation and plea bargaining. So all of us will become mediators. Let's get it done. And for the private sector to strengthen export readiness, innovation, and partnership with cooperatives and SMEs to enhance productivity and job creation. Export promotion is a key pillar or key priority of NSC2. So we need to consolidate efforts in this direction. Now, citizens and civil society, the report makes the point about strengthening and deepening participation in local decision-making and strengthening citizen feedback mechanisms to enhance social accountability. And we all know, with AI and social media, there are now multiple platforms and ways that we can deepen citizen participation in addition to the convening of physical meetings. Now, for our colleagues in the development cooperation community, our cooperation partners, including ourselves in the UN system, it is not just about aligning support to NSC2 and priorities that have been identified in the Rwandan governance scorecard. It's in their flagships that development cooperation coordination must flow from the flagships. So every project is important, but those projects can stay at the bilateral level between the cooperation partner and the partner ministry. But when you want to invite quality executive time of all permanent secretaries in the government of Rwanda, of the 3 ministers in Ministry of Finance and Economic Planning, for a half-day conversation, it has to be worth their time, because development cooperation is not just the only thing on their bucket. It's about the entire transformation and management of budget, resources, personnel, and all of those. And so it can only speak then at the flagships, because those are the most important considerations for which you see results. So how do we align ourselves to then speak to the flagships, that whatever we bring, no matter how small, must have a direct correlation to the flagships? If it doesn't have a correlation, it means it's actually not strategic for Rwanda. And we should be rethinking what we are offering to the government and the people of Rwanda. So as we take stock of the results from this scorecard, I am reminded of 2 powerful reflections, and I think my sister Fatmata had mentioned one of them, that what gets measured gets managed, and what gets measured gets done. So both these reflections emphasize the power of measurement in driving action and accountability, and that tracking performance will enable better management and resource allocation, but also that visibility drives action and accountability. So together, they affirm that data is not just about observation. It is a catalyst for both management, execution, and transformation. In essence, measuring creates visibility, which leads to better oversight and ensures that goals are actively pursued and achieved. Therefore, as we digest the findings of this 12th edition, I want to challenge all of us to commit to turning insight into action and ensuring that next year's review not only measures progress, but celebrates it. So, as we learn from Rwanda through this scorecard to rethink and to reaffirm our processes and systems, 2 words come to mind to me and help me illustrate this approach that we must focus on. First word, I have stopped using the word diaspora. There's no Rwandan diaspora. There are non-resident Rwandans, because it's a mental shift that is important to get them to stay focused on the homeland, invest the resources and commitments to continue this journey to transformation. The second words for me is that Rwanda is not landlocked. Rwanda is land-linked. Because in the land linking, we create new opportunities for transformation and to help this country go forward. Together with my colleague Fatmata, all my colleagues from the United Nations system that are present here, we will remain steadfast in our accompanying role to working this journey with government and other partners to advance a culture that is data-driven, that informs decision-making, but continues to inform impactful action across all sectors for the realization of strong institutions, accountable governance, and citizen-centered transformation. I thank you for your kind attention. Murakoze Chiani.